While we were anchored on the windward side of Antigua, we spotted distant shores pulling into the anchorage. I consider Paul and Cheryl to be pioneers in the sailing video scene, so I asked them if we could drop by and talk sailing, boats, and of course about the changes they've noticed over the years producing sailing lifestyle videos. In this interview, we'll talk about some of the changes in cameras and technology they've experienced, and how the move from broadcast TV to real-time social media has affected the way they earn a living. Thanks for having us aboard.
Oh, welcome. So great to have you aboard Distant Shores 3.
Great to be here.
I was just telling Karen, this is the third southerly yacht we've owned. We just love the variable draft keel.
And the keel control is here, so the keel is halfway up right now.
Okay.
So when all the dots are out, there's only one dot that's going down. It takes a while. It's just falling down on its own. The keel weighs 2 and a bit tons.
Yeah, okay, so there is a bit of ballast.
Yeah, quite a bit of weight in the keel itself. And when you push the button, it's coming up by electric hydraulic.
Would you like to come below?
Yeah, let's go check her out, huh? She's got a really wide stern back here.
Yes.
And a lot of cool room.
Yeah, a lot of storage back here.
Ooh, it's got that new boat smell.
I know.
Smells nice and clean in
The
here.
saloon is raised up so you can
Yeah, look at that head height,
see
huh?
out like a...
Look at all the windows too, huh?
Yeah, it's got a great view while you're in the boat.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for inviting us over today, guys.
It's great to have you
such a
aboard.
It's really an honor to be here today because you guys are what I would say the pioneers of sailing lifestyle videos, and you were doing it before anybody else, I think, had even thought about it, with some pretty interesting equipment. And so, you know, what I want to talk about today is sort of the evolution and technology that you've seen since you started first doing this.
Yeah, big changes.
Big changes. But
Yeah.
first of all, introductions. If you don't already know, you should. This is Paul and Cheryl Shard. We're on Distant Shores, and
Welcome aboard.
Yes.
so okay, first sailing video. We talked a little bit about it, but that was what you said. You made it in 1992 or something like that.
We sailed from 1989 to 1992. Did a 3-year around the Atlantic, into the Mediterranean,
Down to South America.
South America, back up home, and took a whole pile of video on videotape.
Right. Okay.
And brought a big, huge stack of tapes back that we were all worried about. What we even had, you know, because you could barely watch it except on. We had a little tiny television.
So it was actual, like, were they like Betamax tapes or
They were
VHS tapes, or?
They were just after VHS. There was a system called High Band 8.
Okay.
They were little tapes that looked like a cassette tape size.
And how long would each one last?
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we
Big
always
stacks.
came
So
back.
you really, it's almost like the Fujifilm or the Polaroid, like every shot really you had to make count, because you must have had like a stack of tapes running around on the boat like crazy.
Yeah, we never reused them because we couldn't take the stuff off. We weren't ingesting it into hard drives or anything like that. So the very first show that we came back, when we edited it, was on tape-to-tape machines, where you cut from a tape using a big controller
copied
in
it
a
to
studio.
another tape, so you couldn't insert edit. You'd have to roll back.
Yeah, the edit was a
And it
disaster.
was- yeah. So the technology today.
I can't even imagine.
But we-
So you filmed for what, how long? 3
3
years?
years.
3 years.
And then you took all the tapes, you went back home,
Yeah.
which is in Canada.
in
Yeah.
Canada, yeah. Toronto.
And then you would go into a studio and you would sort of do the reel-to-reel tape editing with the intention of making like 20-something minute formatted
It turned out to be a
episodes.
1 hour. We turned that into a 1 hour documentary.
Oh,
we didn't
cool.
know enough. We made all those same mistakes that you make now, except you make them quickly. You watch it, you say, what all these mistakes I made, and you go and shoot again. So this was this big sort of 3-year cruise with all of the stuff collected, which in the end made a nice little 1 hour documentary.
That's incredible.
So, and then 1992, then the pace accelerated as we decided we were going to go back cruising again on a
Discovery
half-year.
Channel licensed that first 1 hour documentary that we cut, and people really enjoyed it because we had a lot of underwater footage, and we did, you know, a lot of unusual traveling, as
What was
we
the
all
underwater
do.
camera like?
The camera was about that big, and it went inside a housing. So it was a mechanical housing, non-electric stuff.
It was for our regular shoulder cam.
Oh
Yeah.
wow,
We were
which is
using
like a
shoulder cams at that time.
holding it on the like that, this big camera,
like a
and it
15
stuffed it.
kilo sort of.
Yeah, the thing weighed about that much in the underwater housing because it needed lead handles to keep it underwater. So underwater it was easy to operate and quite steady because it's so big and heavy.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good camera, but you know. You
Now a
couldn't do much
GoPro
with
is
it.
a whole lot easier to
So
take
now do you
underwater.
think that the GoPro in this form factor does as good in some things, or the quality is, how does it compare?
The quality, of course, is stunning. At GoPro, you've got 4K shooting, and it's the colors are so good. The sort of internal processing it does is all light years ahead of this ancient equipment from
Yeah, and
Jesus,
actually
28 years
that's
ago, 29
Yeah.
years ago.
that's a sad thing for us because we shot a series called Exploring Under Sail before we started Distant Shores. And the first 4 seasons of Distant Shores as well as Exploring Under Sail are standard definitions. So now, people can't even watch them because...
And everybody wants widescreen
Yeah.
instead of the
Exactly.
4x3.
So
And the 4x3, we shot some interesting stuff. We went to Venice, Istanbul, we went to the Middle East, we were in Syria, we were in the Golan Heights, we went to Egypt. Some of that was when we first got our
that's when we switched to
in
high def.
high definition.
Yeah.
So the Middle East season
But all
was our
those
first one in high
old
def.
shows
Yeah.
and interesting things. One of them, we dove in a bait ball off the Azores in the ocean.
Yeah.
And birds were diving down as dolphins were corralling these fish, and the fish were hiding in our wetsuits, and it was just like an amazing day.
Well, that's the kind of days that you
now we
have
can't
all the
use it.
time, but you can catch it. And now I think we've caught it in 1080 or 4K. If you guys shoot 4K,
Mostly,
yeah. So you're future proofing. That's the lesson we learned from that.
Until everybody has 16K TVs and 360 everything, and then nobody wants to watch your old
360 virtual
4K
reality.
footage, right? Yeah. So how has it changed what you do? Because I imagine you used to do a lot of planning and preparation. You would have go on this big trip, then you would come back and go to the studio. But now everything's digital. You have
we can
virtually
do-
unlimited recording with hard drives. You have an editing studio
Yeah.
right over there on your desktop.
Exactly.
So what has that meant?
Well, it means
difference
we
to
can
you
spend
guys?
more time on the boat
Yeah.
every year because we can do a lot of the rough editing on the
Yeah.
boat. And a lot of the final editing too now. Although we do
you get
for
that instant
television
feedback.
prefer the studio for the color and balancing.
Yes, the final
audio.
edit, I like to do it in the studio because we have a bigger monitor and we can watch it on our 4K big TV set and listen through the studio monitor speakers. I have trouble with the mix.
Yeah.
And the audio mix to
Yes,
hear
as
it.
well.
You need to hear it on different speakers to know you've got it right.
For television, it's a different level that we have to provide.
Yeah.
For YouTube, we can do a lot of what we need to do.
a little
on the
bit more
boat.
flexible.
Yeah, you
Flexibility.
can push the boundary, but a lot of people make a really good effort at YouTube, and YouTube is
Yeah,
much of
it's-
it is broadcast.
Yeah.
Broadcast
Oh,
quality.
it is. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yours would
yeah.
be.
But
Yeah.
you guys have literally made a living, and it was, how did you get money from it? So you would sell it to either a network?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have an
Or-
agent, and
okay.
she takes it to various markets and to different networks and sells the shows. We produce 13 half-hour shows for a season, and a half-hour show is 23 minutes, 50 seconds.
With our
So
broadcaster,
we have to
yeah.
really be precise about, and sometimes we shoot things we'd love to use, but
You have
there's
to
just
cut
not
it.
time, yeah.
That's the problem with the old television
Yeah.
It's
format.
the
so-
forced
Yeah.
length format and
Yeah, because now stuff goes to the format that you want to make
however
it.
long it
Yeah.
needs to be.
It's perfect. It's a
And,
big improvement for that.
The TV networks will buy a license, so they'll buy a license for a period of time, like 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, and also for a number of plays and for a geographical territory. And we always do like a flat rate deal for this territory, this time length, this number of plays.
Usually
then-
they go do unlimited plays.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And more
So
and
that they
more.
can just keep playing it as long as they want
Yeah.
for that same area.
Yeah.
And
But the shows are now in 24 languages around the world.
That's cool.
Broadcast in 47 million households. So
whoa,
you
crazy.
get a lot of play, and the old shows are still replaying. It's on AWE TV in the USA, Nautical Channel throughout Europe and most of the world. We just signed a deal for Shine TV in New Zealand and
Nice.
Australia. So so keeps our sailing habits
But I
fulfilled.
think the future is moving away from broadcast TV, obviously,
Yeah.
to different
Yeah.
kinds. And because anybody you meet here, you can say you have a YouTube channel, and they can go there.
Yeah.
But if we in the old days, we'd tell people we made a TV show, and they'd say, well, they couldn't get that TV
Yeah,
channel.
what channel?
So it's like,
Yeah.
what channel's
It
it
was
on?
broadcast.
It was on Travel Channel for a
And
while.
some of them
A
had
lot
the
of
channel
people
and didn't
get
know
it.
because they had 500 channels and didn't know that they got the
Yeah.
nautical channel or the
Yeah.
travel
Yeah,
channel.
I think it's.
So
I
we're
think
loving
what it's-
YouTube, and you guys have certainly paved the way there. It's
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
fabulous to watch your programs, and the production quality is so good. And
We try.
we're really, really glad that you make good long length programs because they're amazing to watch.
Well, thanks. It's one of those things where, like, you know, because you are cutting out the middleman, like, which would have been the content gatekeeper who would decide,
Yes.
because they have the audience, right? So they could
Yes.
say, well, we have the audience, we'll buy you a program and show it, and we'll make money, but we get to select the programs, and because of that, there's sort of
Yeah.
a gateway.
Yes.
But the technology of the internet and YouTube and small
Yeah.
computers has allowed you to say, like, well, if your content is interesting and people want to watch it, then there's no longer a gatekeeper.
Exactly.
But it's free.
yes.
And so then you have to figure out a way to pay for
Monetize
it,
it,
because
yeah.
there are a lot of, you know, not only your time,
Oh, there's
which is
huge
valuable,
expenses, your costs.
expense in time and camera equipment and just, you know, production and
Salt water getting into your camera,
everything.
the drone is crashing, and
Drones
it's a
drowning.
new
huge
hard drives
endeavor.
Yeah.
need to be bought.
And so,
Yeah.
you know, you guys made money through royalties, I guess you would call it, from
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
licensing.
a contract licensing
Or
contract.
did you sell, like, tapes, DVDs
we
and stuff
sold
like that?
We still
DVDs.
sell DVDs.
Really
People
cool.
still
Yeah.
buy DVDs.
Yeah, we're
We get
you know
orders
every
every few
year we
days,
keep thinking,
yeah.
okay, that's the end of the DVDs, but
Yeah.
you know, especially around Christmas, people love the Distant Shores Collectors. That we've got 130 half-hour episodes from
Yeah.
the Med, Middle East, Northern Europe, UK,
Yeah, and that still sells.
Scandinavia.
And how have you found the transition to YouTube? Because I feel like even for us, a lot of people expect that if it's on YouTube, it was filmed just now or yesterday, like it's a daily vlog or something.
Yeah,
We had a
but-
terrible time with that at first because we got a YouTube channel and I guess we signed up for one in 2009, 8 or 9, I think. And then we didn't know how to work it because we just put previews on it mainly.
Use it for
Because our
trailers.
TV channels, the licenses would always say like it's licensed, we've sold a license exclusive for US
So we couldn't
Caribbean
air the
with
shows
our
on
major
YouTube.
American broadcaster.
Oh, okay.
And you can't give the whole thing away on YouTube.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why is he paying a real license
Exactly.
fee, right? So that money was real money that came from that channel, and then we couldn't put anything until it had expired the exclusive time period that he had it for in that broadcast market. And since you couldn't subdivide the market, we couldn't even give it to Europe on YouTube. 'Cause you
Right.
can't
Yeah, and we would
split the
you know,
world
we'd
in half on
film
YouTube.
for a season, edit, and then the shows would be up, and it would be almost a year later on
Yeah.
TVs. So we had the same trouble. People would be following us on social media, and you know, it was like, well, we can't wait to see these shows, but
Yeah.
they're still sitting in tapes, you know, waiting to go to the studio. But so yeah, we had that challenge then, and it's even more so now that we're doing YouTube. The thing we love about YouTube is we can really talk to sailors, because for television, it's a mass audience.
Yep.
And so we couldn't get into the nitty gritty of plumbing and what bottom paint we use and all those things that sailors want to know
Yeah.
for the general audience. So we had to focus more on travel. And sailing in the TV shows is just a thread to get us to the different destinations. And then we do activities that any tourist could do in those places. And, you know, we sail to travel, so that worked for us. But we really enjoy with YouTube that we can do a lot more how-to things on, you know, how to install a new windlass or
Yeah, it's a very specific demographic, and you
Yeah.
can have your content match that. right?
Exactly.
Because you know what,
Yeah.
The
and, you,
audience
and you
is
get
much
this
more specific.
instant feedback too from people coming and
Yes.
saying, "Oh
Yeah.
wow, I like boat technical work videos."
Yeah.
And so then you can sort of cater to
Yeah.
your finite micro demographic, whereas
Yeah, or
Exactly.
divide your
With
demographic
TV.
in half and give half of your people their travel fun stuff, and then the other half the sort of boat how-to.
yeah.
doing
There
it.
was
So
no-
it's great.
no internet, no social media when we started with the
No.
TV
And
shows.
you put
so
something
it was
up on-
one way,
Yeah.
and
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You put something up on YouTube and there's your comments right away about how you're doing. And hopefully they're good.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a nervous time pushing the publish button, right?
And our way to get feedback from our TV audience was, to physically go to boat shows and teach seminars so we could personally talk to our viewers and get ideas. But now with social media and YouTube,
Yes,
right
nearly
away we know.
Instantaneous.
Yeah, and you get a feel of what people like and don't like and want to see more of. And
Do you find it less easy, as easy, or more difficult to make a living doing it in the new sort of environment? The new
I
social
guess at
media
this point we're
environment?
transitioning over away from TV, and we'll probably try a Patreon engine that I know you guys have
Yep.
a membership site
enjoyed
of some
and
sort.
something like that.
But
So
you're not doing anything like that now.
we
it's
haven't
just-
now, so we will start it up. I
Yeah,
think
because
it's
we're still
it's probably a good
earning most
idea.
of our living through television, and we're just in the transition now.
Yeah.
So thank you for your advice on all that.
Well, I don't know.
Appreciate you sharing.
We've made plenty of mistakes along the way, so I'm happy to share mistakes with everybody.
Yeah, but we're learning too. But no, we love it. I mean, there's not the time constraint in the length of the program. I
Yep.
mean, there's, the length your viewers like to see. But, it's not 23 minutes, 50 seconds exactly. Like the recent video we just put up today on our transatlantic crossing was 19 minutes. And
Yeah, it's just
some of the others are 7 minutes.
when it was
or-
finished, it was finished. I like that. That's been great.
It's whatever you need it to be.
But
the
still,
story still
monetizing it
rolls.
is the trick, isn't it? Because the YouTube income goes up and down with how many views you get.
Yep,
Yeah.
and monetizing depending on the type of music you use. Music is a
Right.
challenge, and
Yes.
I've probably, you guys are more aware than most people because of the work you did before.
With television,
You would actually have to get licenses and permission to use music in your
Yeah,
videos.
we
Yes.
bought all the licenses through a Sound Dogs, a library in California, and then any of that music we have the right to use it.
Cool.
But whenever we put it up on YouTube, they would always flag it.
and then you
And we always had to
battle against
some
We had to
battle
go
against
through
it.
the
I have the
process.
right
Do
for this.
have
I bought
permission.
it. Usually we would spend $300 or $400 for one 20-minute show in music. That was what we
Yeah.
usually budgeted.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and now we can just use the Creative Commons music that YouTube has. Seems to be easier because then at least you don't have to battle it with YouTube. So
Yep.
I
Yeah.
don't know if that's what you guys do.
We use that, and there's another one. There's quite a few small private people,
Okay.
but the one that we've been using most recently is called Epidemic Sound, and they have a huge collection. And when you sign up for their service, you get all of their music just automatically becomes white flagged on your channel, and then you don't have to go through any of that hassle. But there's a lot that we use.
Yeah.
Usually at the end of our videos, we'll list. Then it could be like 15 songs, 20 songs
Right,
from all sorts of different artists, some big, some small,
Right.
whatever we can get that
And
has the right vibe.
I
Yeah.
find our followers really enjoy that. If we don't list the music, we always get emails. Oh, what was that
Yeah.
song you used? Who's the artist?
Yeah.
So, it's a very creative process, and it's, as you say, so interactive with the audience, and the topic can be so specific. So
That part is great. See all
Yeah.
the comments that come down. Although as nervous as it is sometimes to read them if people take issue with something that we've done. Oh my God.
I found like
yeah,
if you
sometimes
do
the
one
feedback's
thing,
too direct.
somebody's gonna like it. If you do the opposite, that person will now dislike it, and this other person will like it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of, you have to do what you like
Do
and
it.
what you feel is right, and
Yeah.
the hell with the rest. That's the way you
But
think about
it's
it,
so
yeah.
great now that there's so many sailing channels on YouTube, because now there's so many different examples of the sailing life that people
Yep.
who are dreaming of doing it can follow different age groups, different income levels, different types of boats, and they're all there accessible. Where when we started, there was just maybe 1 or 2 shows about sailing.
But you read magazines.
And-
That was how
yeah,
you
most
read
people read
magazines.
magazines.
Or
That had
blogs.
the gate.
Remember,
There weren't
Before
even
that,
blogs
before
when
vlogs, there
when we
was just
started.
magazines. I mean, back in the in the 80s,
In the
if you were
90s and
planning.
stuff, yeah.
Okay, the first
trip.
year that we started cruising internationally, fax was a new thing. Okay, so put that in perspective.
facts.
We would like mail stuff, or people mailed things to us. We had to go to Poste Restante at the General Post Office and get our physical mail. And to be able to go to a post office and fax something, and our families
That was
would receive
life-changing.
it instantly, was a miracle. So I mean,
Now
the
we've got
internet is just
Instagram.
fantastic. Yes.
Well, no,
yes.
okay, we're in this beautiful Anchorage, way out in the corner of Antigua, so you can't even drive a road on this island. And I uploaded a nearly 3 gig file this morning while we were at your boat.
Yeah.
Crazy, huh?
And crossing the
amazing.
ocean. We're like sending photos to Facebook and Twitter
Yeah.
through
Do you think there's any
satellite.
cons
It's
to that?
just-
Like that's the technology has enabled some new things, benefits. But on the
Yeah.
other side, I sometimes feel like for us, we're out here to be disconnected, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to separate and get disconnected and just sort of live a.
Right.
People
Well,
expect you to answer quick, for sure. So
do.
although we'd like to disconnect maybe for a week or two, that nobody's ready for that. So people are more worried that they can't get in touch. Why haven't you responded?
Yeah.
Lasting within 24 hours for the business part of our
for
business world, I guess.
When we did our first cruise, 1989 to 92, one Sunday we would call Paul's parents, and the next Sunday we would call my parents. And they were all very happy to wait till Sunday. Now, if they don't get an email or a phone call every couple of days, they worry. So, in
Yeah, or
some
if our
ways.
AIS plot disappears
Yeah,
on the marine traffic website or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they dropped off the grid.
Yeah,
Yeah, what happened?
Sunk.
Call
What
it
if they
Coaster.
sunk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, there are pros and cons, but I think the cruising life is so much better because of the internet. I mean, we
Yeah.
can be in touch with family and have these great experiences. We can share experiences through video and social media. And everybody's working on board. So many people, anyway, are working on board, which you couldn't do easily
Yeah,
before
remote
because of the
working
and-
internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can capture more of it with the technology. Like when we first started, the camera was so big, you'd have to lump the camera to get it out to shoot stuff. So what we were just talking about having a GoPro on a pole, there was nothing like that.
Yeah,
We just
no,
weren't
not
those
possible.
stormy. We had to get that big camera out
Yeah.
and put it in the housing, otherwise the spray was going to wreck it. Then the sound is gone.
And then try and balance your way.
Yeah, and then if you got a good shot and there was no sound, you probably wouldn't find out for a long time, right?
Right.
Yeah, we didn't
Yeah.
really. We weren't watching it right then. and
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
we
had a
collect
bad
our
storm.
tapes at the end of the season and like go through the X-ray at the airport.
Yeah,
This is
wonderful.
our whole summer's work.
We don't go back and
Please
watch
don't
it.
ruin this.
Yeah.
Carry on. You were talking about.
I was going to say
seeds.
we had this big storm and we'd left the camera charged up in case there was bad weather.
Yeah.
So I went up to the forward locker forward cab where it was all cushioned in, and I got the camera out, switched it on, and the battery died.
Yeah.
I was like, well, there's the storm footage. I'm already
Yeah.
feeling seasick
And you
from going
even
to get there.
prepared.
And I prepared. I had the camera, but it's a storm that never happened because we didn't film it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now if the camera's dead, we have 5 others. One of them's going to be okay. Right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have, because there's a lot of people out there getting started or thinking about sailing, sailing or filming their adventures. Do you guys have any advice for people just starting out as far as like,
Well,
tips and tricks for filming or capturing something or?
Yeah, practice with your cameras before you go, or if you're already out sailing, just have fun with it and don't get upset that things aren't as you envision. It's all a growing process. We've all evolved over the years.
Yeah. Editing is.
And keeping it steady and good sound is important. I think
Sound.
if you can
Sound is
manage
very
that.
important.
I think if you're having fun with it and
Yeah.
you get good sound,
Yes.
then those are your two
It
key
makes up
things.
for a lot of bouncy shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, keeping the camera steady and just
getting it as some way to edit it quick. Like that was the biggest mistake we made at the beginning. We shot all this stuff, but there was no way really to try to put it together. And I think editing
It's just the
is
limitations
very
of
hard.
the
A lot of
time.
people shoot film and they're not editing.
What do you guys use for editing now?
Final Cut.
Use Final Cut.
Final Cut Pro. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
like that.
used Final. We did the first edits. We're back on tape to tape, and we were in editing studios where you'd spend $1,400 a day to be in the suite to do an edit. That would usually take 1 day to do a cut. That was the whole thing had been already cut on paper, and then you'd go in with your stack of tapes, and it was programmed in, and the edit would work. And that would usually
So you
cost
program in
$1,500.
timestamps.
Everything was time
And
coded.
then this machine would go like to that timestamp and
Yeah, I run
record it to it.
back the tapes and and run the tapes
I
to
can't
copy it
even
from the tape
imagine
to the
that.
next
Oh,
tape.
Sometimes I'll watch old movies and like transitions and be like, "What? How the hell did they do that?"
Transitions were another thing. Yeah, that was more complicated.
Running from
both
one room to the other.
two tapes that were both running at the same time to be recorded on the third tape to do a dissolve.
Whoa!
No, you just.
And effects. And,
Cross
Push
dissolve,
dissolve.
drag and
Yeah,
drop.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's
And
wonderful.
add titles in, and that was another big
We
thing.
have certainly enjoyed
It's been a
the
hell of a ride.
evolution of all this technology.
But as you know, you shoot for a week, you might get a few hours of stuff or a few more hours. It depends on how amazing your experience is
Yeah.
that week. But you still got a number of hours of stuff, and then it's probably another couple of weeks to edit it into something, isn't it?
Yep, easily.
Yeah. Could be more
We
than that.
we generally, plan out our route, where we want to sail for a season, and what we think would make good shows from our research. Then we contact the tourist boards, because for television we have to get permits because we're shooting commercially, which can be a process. And we get suggestions from them, but always, and I'm sure you find this too, the best things are the spontaneous
Yeah,
things
of
that
course.
you meet somebody and they own a oyster harvesting place or something, and so we learn all about that.
Or they're having a pirate party on the beach.
Yeah, that was a good one yesterday.
Yeah, I think the spontaneity brings a whole different level of
It's
energy
energy.
and
Yeah.
comfortness around the camera, and it seems a little bit
Yeah.
less set up. And
Yeah.
Exactly.
so we try and do that stuff as
Yeah,
well.
and sometimes, we'll shoot most of a show doing the kind of popular touristic activities, and then we'll have some of those spontaneous episode or situations, and we'll just throw out all that stuff that's not as exciting. So there's time lost there too. But the idea is to have the best exciting show and a good story. You guys are great at telling a story.
Yeah.
That's another thing when people are filming, they just wave the camera when they first start. And hey, you have to think about what story am I trying to tell and get the pieces for that. So,
Good advice.
yeah.
Well, do you guys have anything else to add? I think I have a list. I actually made a list of questions. It's not very official, but we hit all of them.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you.
So,
We're just
thanks
so
for your time
pleased to
and
meet up.
showing us your lovely new boat, Distant Shores 3, Southerly 48.
Yes.
Very
for
cool
coming
design.
Thank you.
And
Glad
what
to
do you
have
guys say
aboard.
now we get outside and go do some kiteboarding?
Hey,
That sounds like fun.
You up for
let's
it?
do it. Yeah.
Watch
All
me
right.
crash and burn kiteboarding.
We find that we spend 2 to 3 hours editing for each and every minute of video we release. So for a typical 25-minute episode, that's anywhere from 50 to 75 hours of time spent in front of the computer. And that's just the editing and post-production. If you're trying to release weekly videos, you can do the math on that one. Talking to Distant Shores and other YouTube sailors, we find this is a pretty typical effort to release a quality production. Even though the landscape has shifted from broadcast contracts to social media, the costs for filming and production are still pretty significant. So please consider supporting your favorite sailing channel. For the price of a cup of coffee, you can have the same effect as thousands upon thousands of YouTube views. And if you can't support financially, liking and subscribing to channels you enjoy actually makes a world of difference.